all to ask yourself today is, are you thinking ahead of time? Life, somehow and always, one way or the other, takes you back in time. All my life, my father told me three things. Think outside the box, have a plan, and be a disruptor. And suddenly here I am, believe it or not, talking to all of you about my dawn of disruption. Proud moment, huh? So before my nerves kick in, let's dive straight into it. What is my definition of disruption? Disruption, to me, means changing the complete dynamic of something that is already accepted. How do you do that? Very simple, do things differently. For example, in this picture right here in Goa, where all my friends accepted to wear white, but I chose otherwise and I wore black. Ta-da! Here's a disruptor. But here's the thing. We live in disruptive times, don't we? I was born in the 90s, I'm a millennial, and I still miss my memory of the simpler times. While I thought wired landlines, Captain Planet, and Tazos could get me through life, the near future always held a surprise for me. Constant technological advancements and life-changing developments were changing life so rapidly that before I knew it, I had grown up. So, although innovations had made life so much easier, there was a blaringly ugly side to innovations as well, especially in the food industry. So, I am Sarrah Kapasi, and in a world that thrives on genetic modifications and use of chemicals to create low-cost, shelf-stable foods, I founded a business that creates breakthrough packaged foods made from 100% natural, actually healthy ingredients, ancient but ahead of time. The first reaction I get when I tell people what I do is, oh, that's interesting, what is your background? BBA. I stop at that because I love to see their faces a little more confused. What made you pursue this then? They continue to ask. Long story, let me tell you. I grew up watching my father build his own business, one that he took to great heights. I remember even when I was 8 years old, spending most of my weekends at his office, either observing and even participating to my own capacity. I used to love it, and I knew that when I grew up, this is exactly where I want to be. Doing less, delegating more. But during the course of building his business, my father got type 1 diabetes. Now, for those of you who don't know the difference, there are two types of diabetes. Type 2, which is the most common one, which is a lifestyle disorder in which caused due to unhealthy lifestyle habits, primarily diet. Whereas type 1 is a whole different horror, which is an autoimmune disorder. Basically, your body's immune system mistakes its own healthy tissues as foreign and attacks them. Your pancreas are dead and you're 100% insulin dependent. This means that every time you consume anything, you have to externally inject yourself with insulin. So while type 2 can be cured by lifestyle corrections, type 1 can only be managed. It has no cure yet. Maybe there'll be one. His type 1 diabetes was life-changing for not only him, but for us as an entire family. All our lives were completely reshaped by it. He was forced to be disciplined with his health. We consulted the best diabetologists in the city, followed the nutrition advice given to him to the T. But yet, over a period of time, his health kept deteriorating. I remember during my graduation days, it became much worse. He was going through low blood sugars almost 3 times a day. I remember having to break open a glass door once to rescue him from slipping into a coma. It was very painful, and the entire family's mental health was affected by it. And when we tell the doctors, they'd simply say that this is a factor of age, you can't do anything about it. But luckily for me, my father's the OG disruptor, and he chose to defy this. So we went out searching for an answer to a very simple question. What are we doing wrong? Our journey led us to many destinations, from researching books, to traveling to first world countries, to even meeting endocrinologists from different walks of life. To understand what is it that India is doing wrong to be the diabetes capital of the world. We discovered many things, sugar being the obvious evil. We also discovered that gluten was another one. Did you know that there are studies that prove that 1 in every 10 people with diabetes are also gluten intolerant? So apart from the secondary research, we also did some really cool self-experiments. Now this you will find very interesting, so hear me very closely. We used a CGMS, continuous glucose monitoring system, which gives you your blood sugar readings every 10 minutes. So Dad did water fast and ate only one item to fully understand its effect on body and blood sugars. Cool things, let's take an example of a regular banana versus an organic banana. So we'll go first with an organic banana. An organic banana costs around 5 rupees in the market, a single piece. The units required to absorb it were 2 units. Insulin costs on an average around 3 rupees. So that brings your actual cost of banana at 11 rupees. Now we'll compare it to a regular banana. So a regular banana costs 2 rupees lesser, which is 3 rupees in the market. This is the one we buy from our sabzi mandis, right? But the insulin required to absorb it was more than double, being 5 units. Now remember, insulin is also your primary weight gain hormone, which means the more insulin you require, the more tendency you have to put on weight. So the total cost of your regular banana is then rupees 18. Now that you see the larger picture, what would you rather choose, food or medicine? In a few months, I'm going to take one more example. The next one is the curious case of a diet soda. And because we can't take names, we'll just call it diet joke. So ideally, because diet soda is 0 calorie and 0 carb, it should have no impact on insulin or blood sugars, right? So while we observed that in the short term this was true, and there was no spike in blood sugars, there was a sharp spike post 6 to 8 hours. This is largely because it curbs your body's ability to absorb insulin. So all our findings are right in front of you. So in a few months, my dad's health had become great. He was more fit than even I was. Blood reports all better than normal. His HbA1c, which is a measure of diabetes, at a great 4.5. A health checkup even showed his metabolic age younger than mine. It was quite embarrassing, to be honest. But I'm an emotional eater. He isn't. So based on all our findings, we made a few lifestyle shifts. Lifestyle shift number 1, only organic or desi produce. This means eat food the way nature meant it to be, with all its benefits and shallow flaws. Shift number 2, no gluten. Now gluten tends to have a cross-reactive effect with other foods you eat it with, making you allergic to them, apart from the fact that it has a long afterlife in your body. But this doesn't mean you replace your rotis with higher carb alternatives loaded with starch and sugars. In our case, we just stopped eating rotis. Shift number 3, no refined sugar and no artificial sugar. Both are equally harmful. And shift number 4, low carb, high fat. Carbs directly convert into blood sugars in your body and require a proportionate amount of insulin, whereas dietary fats aid the gradual and efficient absorption of even the carbs you eat it with and require no insulin. It was great, again, for everyone but my mom. She was beginning to get frustrated with having no substitutes or holidays from cooking. And this made me a little unhappy because now that dad was better, mom was a little unhappy. So there was an obvious gap. Now the thing is that anything that was available in the market, even in the name of diabetes friendly or healthy, wasn't anything my father would touch with a barge pole. So 6 years ago, when concepts like organic, gluten, immunity, or diabetes were not given much heed to, we set out to create our own breakthrough range of products that would be void of all the nasty stuff mentioned here. It took us 2 years of persistent R&D and uncountable failures to finally arrive at our first range of products. We were able to launch our first range of truly diabetes-friendly products, not a permutation or combination of health, but health as a whole. We worked days and nights to find new techniques, packaging technologies, and substitutes, weeks trying to spread knowledge and awareness, months trying to convince our stakeholders to trust us, and years justifying our higher prices. But we were trying to build a category that doesn't exist. We had been turned down more times than even Chandler Bing has. A truly passionate range of products that takes me back to my memory of the simpler times. And simpler times requires this now forgotten concept called patience. So I'm a simple person, in my head at least. I look for happiness. I saw my father struggle, and I saw my father heal. This gave me happiness. So I wanted to spread the same happiness in the world by sharing a solution that is so close to my heart. So we've set out to do something that was almost impossible and the complete opposite of how the food industry functions. But the thing is that we never gave up. And then again, we were trying to build a category that doesn't exist. But here's the thing. I'm still, till date, told by some of the most affluent people in the industry that change your track. Because obviously, I don't make as much money as they do. But in a world driven by innovation and disruption, I choose to be not only ahead of time, but on the right side of change. Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure sharing my journey with you. I am Sarrah Kapasi, and I'm a disruptor.